Week 6 of the NFL season is, well, technically it's already started because I'm recording this after Thursday Night Football between the Giants and Eagles. By the way, shout out the Giants. Week 6 in the NFL season is already here, and we are getting set for a prime time matchup between the Lions and the Chiefs, which will sure to be an interesting one. Now, on paper, you say, okay, the Lions are 4-1, they're on a 4-game win streak. The Chiefs are 2-3, coming off a bad loss on Monday Night Football against the Jaguars. And you would say, okay, the Lions probably should be favored in this game. But, oh my lord, the Lions secondary is dead at this point, and the Chiefs have a very good defense. So there's going to be a lot of challenges in this game for the Lions. I'm not going to lie, I'm not confident. There's a lot that's working against them. And of course, we're going to get into everything that you need to know ahead of Lions and Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. But before we do, if we could get you to hit that like button and subscribe with notifications turned on, it's a very small channel. So if you could take 5 seconds to do those 3 things, it'd really help the channel grow. And let's just go ahead and start with that Lions secondary and where it stands going into Sunday Night Football, because it is a bit of a mess. Now, as you know, DJ Reed is on injured reserve. He is going to miss this game. He will return in about a month or so after the bye week. Don't need to talk about it. He's out. Terrion Arnold, while we did get some good news on him, it's been a bit of a roller coaster week. First, we were told his season is over. Then we were told he could return within the month. However, within the month does not mean this week. So Terrion Arnold is also out. So the Lions are down their top 2 corners. Ennis Rakestraw obviously is out for the entire year. He got injured in training camp. That is their 4th corner. So 3 of their top 4 are out. Amik Robertson is healthy. That's good. But it's a bit of a bare cabinet at the moment, and it gets even worse when you look at the safeties. Because Kirby Joseph has been battling knee injuries all season so far. He's rarely practiced. Brian Branch is also now missing practice this week, and both of them are trending towards being game time decisions. Avonte Maddox, who is also the backup safety / backup nickel, is also dealing with some injury issues, so he might not play. There is a legitimate chance that the Lions' top 3 safeties are all out, and for as good as the starters are, the depth is not very good back at safety. They're also down the top 2 starting corners. It is looking like it's going to be Amik Robertson and his band of misfits out there. There's a very good chance that on Sunday night, the Lions' starting corners are Amik Robertson and Trey Flowers, who was signed off the street like a week ago to the practice squad. And I know what you're thinking, what about Rock Ya-Sin? Well, if the Lions have no safeties, Rock Ya-Sin is going to have to play safety in this one with someone. So the Lions secondary is very beat up. I would not be shocked if they play a ton of their base defense where they have 3 linebackers on the field and they just try to get the Chiefs in as many third downs as possible and blitz a ton to try to limit Mahomes and limit his ability to chuck the ball deep. I'm a little bit more worried about guys like Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton, the deep threats that the Chiefs have over there in this one, because the Lions secondary is already not fast, but when they have their starters in, they're at least very good and very instinctual and able to cover a lot of ground. If those guys are out, then I'm really worried about the top being taken off this defense, and I'm really worried about Mahomes being able to take shots in this one. That is like the number one area of concern, is the Lions being able to defend the deep ball. And of course, Mahomes himself is very good at evading pressure and navigating the pocket, stepping up, rushing himself. He's actually leading the Chiefs in rushing yards right now, which is a whole different thing. So he's been great at extending drives. He is the best improviser in the entire league. And that is going to be a big challenge for the Lions in this one, is can they contain Mahomes, keep him in the pocket, and prevent him from taking these shots? Fortunately, the Lions should be able to get the Chiefs into 2nd and 3rd in long situations because, as I mentioned, Mahomes is their leading rusher. Their running backs have hardly been inspiring. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco have been they've been okay. They haven't been particularly good. And the Lions have a very good run defense, so they should be able to hold those guys in check. It would not shock me, honestly, if the Chiefs just went with a very pass-heavy approach in this one, because the nature of this matchup, the Lions' defensive front is very good, and their secondary is very beat up. So on early downs, I would say the Chiefs should probably be passing the ball more and put the ball in Mahomes' hands and let him make plays against this injured secondary. There's a lot of opportunity for success for Kansas City in this one on that side of the ball. which means the onus is going to be on the Lions offense to step up and have a good game. Now, the Chiefs have a good defense. Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive coordinators in the entire league. If there was a coordinator Hall of Fame, he would be one of the first inducted. He has had a very good defense over there in KC for a long time, and so it's going to be a big challenge for the Lions and for Jared Goff, for everyone involved on that side of the ball, because at the end of the day, this is a game where the Lions are going to have to score at least 30 to win. Fortunately, the Lions are the number one offense in the league, currently averaging 34 points per game, so getting to 30 points seems obtainable. It's just going to be a little bit different because in Arrowhead, it's a very hostile environment. Against this defense, the Chiefs do a good job of limiting explosive plays and keeping everything in front of them while also getting pressure, so the Lions are going to have to get a little creative with how they move the ball offensively. You're going to need the run game to get going. You're going to need Amon-Ra St. Brown to do his thing over the middle because you're going to be put in a lot of third and medium situations, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7s, where you need to get big conversions. Jared Goff is poised enough to stand in the pocket and deliver those throws, and the receivers are good enough to get open, but it's going to come down to those high leverage plays where one mistake and you're off the field. The Lions are going to have to find success in those moments. Now, one of the biggest potential problems is at that left tackle spot. We saw last week Taylor Decker was out with an injury. We've learned that his injury, while he has been able to play, he hasn't been improving as a result of playing in these games. So the Lions have made the executive decision to just let him rest. They rested him against the Bengals, and the Lions won anyways, so it worked out. And it seems like we're trending towards Decker not playing once again this week, which means at left tackle, it's either going to be Giovanni Manu once again, or it's going to be Dan Skipper, who has been elevated from the 53 or from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. I would not be shocked if Skipper started this game just because Manu is so raw as a player. He was very bad in pass pro last week. He was perfectly acceptable as a run blocker, but he cannot pass block at the NFL level at this point in time. He's still developing. Skipper, while he's not great, he's at least better in that area. So I would prefer to have Skip out there, and you're just going to have a ton of extra chips and tight ends blocking, not blocking on their own, hopefully blocking with Skipper on that left side. It's just going to be a little bit of a challenge and an adjustment because when Decker's a very good tackle, so when you have to overcompensate for a tackle being, bad, it's going to limit the offense a little bit in what they're trying to do with some of these deep concepts. Speaking of these deep concepts, a lot of people have been frustrated with Jameson Williams over the last few weeks, and part of that is justified because he had a very bad game against the Cleveland Browns a couple of weeks ago where he had numerous drops and him and Goff were not on the same page at all. And then this last week, he just wasn't a part of the game plan against the Bengals. And teams have been selling out to stop Jameson Williams on the deep shot. They know how dangerous he is. So when he runs these deep posts, these go routes, whatever it may be, teams are dropping 2 or 3 defenders back just to take that away, which is why Amon-Ra St. Brown has been dominating even more than he normally does. The middle of the fields have just been vacated completely because of JMO's explosiveness. So I know people are frustrated. I know they want him to be in the game plan more. There is something to be said about being more creative with his usage, but he actually has been very useful, even if it hasn't been showing up in the box scores. However, I don't think this is going to be a game where JMO is particularly involved once again, just because the Lions are not going to have the time to uncork the deep shots in this one if Decker is out, and the Chiefs are going to inevitably take those deep shots away. So it's going to be a lot of the same of what you've seen over the last few weeks, but that's okay. We were saying the same things about Sam Laporta through the first few weeks of the season where he was quiet. This Lions offense just has so many mouths to feed that some guys are just going to get lost on a weekly basis. And that doesn't mean that JMO is going to be invisible all season. He's going to have his moments. He's going to have his games. It just might not be every week, and that's something that we have to get used to, where every week there's going to be someone that's left out of the rotation that doesn't get a ton of targets, doesn't get a lot of looks. That's just how good this offense is. Again, they're averaging 34 points a game, over 34 points a game. They're the number one offense in the league. We can't have every single aspect going crazy every single week. That's the danger of this offense, is they're so balanced. They have so many weapons that you can't possibly defend them all, which means yes, Jameson Williams might not be as active as you want him to be. The Lions are succeeding, though, without him being that involved. So just be patient. So yeah, going into this one, I gotta admit, I'm not very confident. The Chiefs have their weird voodoo magic, and they are kind of the boogeyman of the NFL at the current moment. They've been to the Super Bowl so many times in the last decade, and it's honestly annoying every time that they get brought up in media conversations and whatnot. However, they are 2-3. They have not been playing inspiring. However, because they're 2-3, this is going to be a big opportunity for a bounce back game for them. Their offense, Mahomes has been looking a lot better over the last few weeks. The one saving grace is that Rashee Rice is still suspended. This is the last game of his suspension. If he was playing, I would have been even more concerned. Hollywood Brown has been fine as a possession wide receiver, but he hasn't been exceptional, and he's not at the same level that Rashee Rice is. So a little bit of a break for the Lions there. Some of those things over the middle aren't going to be quite as effective. However, Chiefs, like I said, they're 2-3. They are going to be looking to fix their record. This is going to be a prime opportunity for a bounce back in prime time in Arrowhead, a very hostile environment, as I said. And the Lions have won 4 in a row. They've been looking good, but we've been watching the Lions and saying, you know what, they don't look perfect. They don't look as good as they could be. There's definitely still some plays being left out on the field. There is an opportunity for the Lions to have a letdown game here. There is an opportunity for them to just rise to the occasion and keep their winning ways going. I'm not saying, when I say that I'm a little worried about this matchup, I'm not saying that the Chiefs are going to win. I just lean a little bit more in that direction this week as opposed to previous weeks. The Lions have 2 games before their bye week. They have this one against the Chiefs, and then next week they have a game on Monday Night Football against the Bucks. Win one of these. I'm not going to be picky. Win one of these, get me to 5-2 at the bye, and I'm going to be a happy camper. But this is going to be a very good game, very interesting game. I'm curious to see how Kelvin Shepard adapts with his banged up secondary, how he's going to call his defense, how many blitzes he's going to call, what that's going to look like. Maybe he leans on more zone coverage in this one. I'm very curious more than anything. I'm not sitting here with the hottest takes. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, this is going to happen. I'm actually just sitting here the Lions are beat up. I have no idea what to expect. One last note before we wrap up. Aleem McNeil is questionable to play in this game. Dan Campbell said he's either 51 or 49% sure. I don't know why he didn't just say 50-50. But Aleem McNeil working his way back from that torn ACL last year. If he does play, he's going to play around 20 snaps. It's not going to be anywhere near his full allotment of snaps or of work as he's working his way back. He's going to be rusty. However, it is a very encouraging sign that Aleem is working his way back so that he can be as close to 100% as possible for the stretch in December and January and into the playoffs. Aside from that, though, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit like on the video and subscribe with notifications turned on. I'm going to be streaming on Sunday night, as I have with every Lions game so far this season. Make sure you check out those streams for some Lions play-by-play, if you will, an alternative broadcast. And make sure the notification bell is rang so you don't miss that. And I'll have a post-game afterwards as well, as always. So until then, my friends, cheers.